Welcome to the Rebel Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargie. The Rebel Rebel is a show dedicated to creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. It's a love letter to those people who think audaciously and act courageously in service of making the world a better and more interesting place.
Well, I have been working in the PR and marketing field for 20 years at this point, which some people would say, oh, that makes me feel really old, but I'm trying to change my mindset into I'm very seasoned. The reason why I'm so passionate about what I do is that I think that a lot of people's voices have been silenced in their life. And I really believe myself to be a cheerleader for people and to help them get their voices out into the world when they felt like maybe they couldn't for so long.
Christina is a seasoned podcast publicist and educator. She has transformed her business and emerged as the go-to expert for entrepreneurs, speakers, and authors looking to expand their credibility and go from best kept secret to go-to expert. Please welcome Christina Lenkowski to the Rebel Rebel. Welcome to the Rebel Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargie, and somewhere across the world for me is Christina Lenkowski. Christina, how the hell are you?
I am doing really, really good. It is a Friday, so in my opinion, the best day of the week. I'm doing pretty dang good at this point in my life.
Very nice. Pretty dang good.
Pretty dang good. Yeah, feel all right about it.
I notice an accent, but I don't know where it's from. Where are you right now in the world?
Well, I live in Boise, Idaho. So I'm in the northwest of the U.S., but I grew up in Portland, Oregon, so even further west in the U.S. And yeah, so that's where I grew up and where we live now. And in between, I've lived in some other countries and on the East Coast of the United States as well.
Wow. Very cool. I love Oregon, and I think I've driven through Idaho.
I hear that a lot. That's what I hear from people a lot. They're typically getting to Oregon or Washington, and so they're like, "Oh, I've driven through there." And if they actually stop, where I live in Boise is a very cool place, and it is a beautiful state. I think a lot of people get confused that it's in the Midwest, but it's not. We're in the Rocky Mountain Range, all that type of good stuff.
It's practically Canada.
It's basically Canada. And so, yeah, I think that people are kind of pleasantly surprised, but I also understand that they're going to Oregon and Washington because I'm from Oregon, so I get it.
Yeah. 100%. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a delight.
I'm really excited to be here and talk to my fellow rebels. And I'm ready to get them fired up and, hopefully help them get a bit more visible or feel like they can be more visible, because the more rebels that are out here talking about what they do, the more things change.
Right. Absolutely. So, and to that point, why don't we start there? Like, Christina, what is it that you do? You've got a PR agency right?
Yes, I own a publicity agency. Yes. But we are very, very niched into the only publicity work we do is we get our clients booked on podcasts full of their ideal audiences.
Clearly it's working.
Clearly it's working. Clearly we've done it. I've cracked the code. And this is something that I just really believe in. I believe in podcasts as a very valid form of publicity. And I really believe in getting people's voices out there in the world. And I know we're going to talk a bit about how I got here, but that is what I do today.
Love it. That's awesome. And I love niching. Like I was having a conversation last night. We did a networking event for my company, and we had a bunch of people in a room together, which is super nice. And we were talking about niching, and this one person just like, I don't know, should I like really niche down? I'm just like, hell yeah. Like narrow that focus.
I love what you just said, Michael, because I agree with you 100%. Because I'm very vocal about what I do, and, I love to go to networking events like you were just talking about, be in the room with people, etc. I am so well known for what I do. And I truly think that happens because I'm very, very niched. When someone, thinks about me, they think about podcasts. They think about people getting booked on podcasts. And we have clients, we have other people that ask, do you do other types of PR? And the answer is no. This is the only thing that we do. I believe in it the most, and I would rather just be the best at this thing than really try to be okay at a bunch of other different things.
Right. And it allows you to pop up above the,
Correct.
yeah, I love that. It's so key. And I think a lot of people don't get that. So I love that we're having this conversation.
Yes. Yes. I think a lot of people, they come from scarcity,
Right.
right? They're worried if I niche down, then people aren't going to want what I have. They want other things and they want this or that. But in my experience, it's the opposite
Totally.
of
Yeah.
that. Yes.
And you can charge more for it because you're specialized. I think. I don't know if you do, but
We do. Yes. It is certainly an investment to work with us, but because when I built my agency, and we're going to get into the rebellious things I did when I built my agency, but one of those big things I did was I actually have a guarantee on bookings, meaning that when our clients work with us, we guarantee that we'll get them booked on at least 24 podcasts over the year that we work together.
Wow.
And that is very, very unusual in the PR world to have any kind of guarantee. But because I work in podcasts, I'm able to. If I worked in other kinds of media, I wouldn't.
Right.
It's simply because I'm in this arena. And that is by design, right? But because of that, we are able to charge, what I feel is a very fair amount, but it is very specialized, right, in what we do. And, we've worked with almost close to 700 shows at this point over the time we've been around. So our network is very vast, meaning that when people come to us, they can feel confident between the guarantee and our network that we're going to get the job done.
Love it. Hell yeah. So let's do a little bit of time travel because
yes,
it's
I
one of my.
love a good time travel session.
Who doesn't love a good time travel? Okay,
yes.
So let's go back in time, and I would like to know what happened to Christina that made her do this thing.
Right now, absolutely.
Right now, yeah. What happened?
Yes. So I have been working in the PR and marketing field for 20 years at this point, which some people would say, oh, that makes me feel really old. But I'm trying to change my mindset into I'm very seasoned and I know what I'm talking about. That's what I prefer to go with. Yeah, I'm cool. Don't worry about me. I've just been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And for the first 10 to 12 years or so, I worked in-house at agencies. I worked in-house at companies. My very first job was at Dark Horse Comics outside of Portland, Oregon. I did PR for them. That was my first PR gig right after college. And I did that and I worked at agencies and I did all that good stuff. And then I had my daughter in 2014. And at that point, I was a senior account executive for a PR agency where I live in Boise, Idaho. And we both tried to make it work. They tried to make it work. I tried to make it work, but I didn't want to be working full time anymore at that point.
Yeah.
And as a senior account exec, that was just very, very difficult to maneuver.
Right.
So I took some time off, and then I had people reaching out to me about contracting. So I did that for, a year, 2 years or so. And then I had the idea, like probably some of you out here, that I was going to have a course. I was like, I'm going to do a course and it is obviously going to make me $1 million. And this is like, I'm not going to have to do anything. And this is perfect because like most of my fellow rebels, we are all about working smarter, not harder. And I was like, this is it. Like I've done it. I'm going to create a course. And for me, the course I created and I did was on, publicity, public relations in tourism. All right. That was my particular area of expertise.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So again, very niched, but that was like I'm a niche gal, but that was what I was really an expert in, what I had done for years and years and years. And so I did this course. And don't worry, this all comes back to how I am where I am today. I promise.
I believe you. I'm here for the ride.
I'm like, okay, good. I'm like, people are like, oh my God, we get it. But I did this course, and I did the course through someone who's very well known in the online course creation world. Okay. And I followed their advice to a T. I was like, this is how I have to create this, and this is how I have to promote this, right? Because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. And I was like, this person makes a ton of money. So like they obviously know what they're talking about, and they do. But I did it exactly how they said to do it when it came to marketing, launching, selling my course.
Right.
Okay. So at that point in time, and I don't know if it still is the way they recommend, but at that point it was ads to webinars to emails to obviously hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales.
Right.
Like a very
That
passive
big funnel.
Exactly. Big funnel going down into, of course, a ton of sales, right?
Yeah.
And that was where my head was at. So I spend all this time, I spend all this money, and it is a disaster. Like I maybe sell like 2 or 3, of the course. And my partner was like, "What are we doing here?" And I was like, "Don't talk to me." Like I was like, "I'm gonna figure it out. Like I got this." And that was a fair question for him to ask
Sure,
because
yeah.
I just spent a lot of money, like to do this and a lot of time, and all this type of stuff. But at that point, I was like, okay, I literally have a course on publicity and I have done no publicity. Like that was a real facepalm moment in my life. And we all have those moments. So that's why I want everybody to hear me say this and be like, oh, yep. Okay. Like that's what she did. Exactly. Like pulling the collar, like it's hot in here, right? Like that was like a real moment or revelation that I had. And so I was like, all right, this was 2018 was at the point where I'm at right now. Okay. And so podcasts were becoming a thing. They weren't as much of a thing as they are now, but they were becoming, a platform that people were joining and people were starting to listen to, et cetera.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to use my, at that point, 15 years of PR work because I know how to pitch. And I'm going to start pitching myself to podcasts that have the audiences that I'm looking to get in front of, right?
Nice.
And so I started to guest on shows. I started to get these yeses and I started to guest on shows. And the difference in my business was night and day. I had people that were just buying my course. They didn't have to go through a huge nurture sequence. They didn't have to go through this whole thing. Or they were asking me to speak at events, or they were asking me to consult. Like all these different opportunities were coming because people were hearing me.
Right.
They could hear that I was an expert in what it is that I was talking about. And they were like, how do I find out more about working with you? Right? How do I find out more about you? There wasn't this long nurture sequence. It was like they heard me and then they're like, okay, yep. So how do we work together?
Yeah,
or where do I buy the course? Right?
Yeah.
Like they just wanted to have this information. And so for a couple years, really up until 2020, that was like what I did. I went on podcasts and I spoke about my company and my course, et cetera. And then when 2020, when the pandemic hit, I knew that the tourism money was going to go away. Even then, not knowing how long it was going to last, I knew that budget was going to be gone because a lot of people don't know this, but tourism, like your local state tourism, is all funded by hotel room tax. Okay. So if no one's staying at hotels, then no tourism budget is coming in.
Wow.
Okay. So they were all scrambling to just keep their staff, which is fair, right?
Totally.
They weren't very concerned about their PR, right? At that point. And so at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to start teaching people how to pitch themselves on podcasts. Like, this is a great time. Everybody's at home. You can do podcasts from home, right? So, like, let me help people get out there a bit more.
Yeah.
So I did that. I was like doing trainings, and I still love to do trainings, but that's something I was doing. And by the end of 2020, I just had so many people that were like, yeah, could you just do it? So that I was like, all right. But I really hesitated. At first it was just me, but then like when I brought on my first other team member to help, I really hesitated because I, for a long time, didn't want to start an agency. I had many things when I worked at agencies that I didn't like about working at agencies, or I didn't necessarily agree with the way that they were done. And so when I did start the agency that I have now, I was like, it took me some time. And I also put, things like the guarantee in place to make sure that I felt more comfortable in the work that I was doing.
Amazing. Well, and that's really cool. And I got to say, like, I've interacted with some of your team, and they're kick ass.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. Yes, they are.
That's really cool. So, okay, so I want to go even further back. I would like to have a formative Christina memory, like something what is it that drove you to get into, PR in the first place? Was that your dream, or did you want to be a veterinarian? I don't know.
I wanted to be a journalist. So I was the editor of my paper at my college, and I was always a writer. So from my degree is actually in writing.
Yeah.
That has always been the thing that I wanted to do. Um, and so I thought I would be a journalist. I thought that was the route I was going to go. I had a particular, I was very good editor. So I was a copy editor as well. That was
Yeah.
something that I also did. Um, but my mom at some point, my mom was a director of a nonprofit where I grew up in Portland. And, she was like, I really think you're going to be in PR. And I was like, Mom, you don't even like know me. You don't even get me. Like, I'm obviously going to be a writer, like, da da da, whatever. You know, how we are so annoying when we're teenagers and,
Yeah.
this or that. And she was right. She was absolutely right because I got offered a job in the PR department at Dark Horse, like I spoke about. And then I also
Yeah.
got offered a job as a copy editor at a newspaper in a newspaper in a mid-sized town in Oregon. And I had to make a decision, even though the newspaper was going to pay me more. Did I really want to sit and edit every night a newspaper just by myself, sitting in a little cubicle,
Yeah.
doing whatever? Or did I want to actually like get to go to Comic-Con and get to be doing this type of stuff that, would really, in my mind, be a lot more fun, right,
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah.
Um, and I made that choice, and I'm glad I did, just knowing the way that obviously the newspaper industry has gone since then.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it was a lot of people I knew that did go that way now work in PR, which is very, very interesting. But
Mm.
that was kind of what brought me there. But to even go back a little further, the reason why I'm so passionate about what I do is that I think that a lot of people's voices have been silenced in their life. I think a lot of people feel like they can't be who they really are, that they can't say what they really want to say, etc. And I grew up in a household where that was not the case. I grew up in a household where I was told every single day how amazing I was, how loved I was, so I could do anything in this world that I set my mind to, etc. And I thought everybody grew up that way. I
Wow.
thought that's how every house was, right? And I now realize that that is not the case, right? That
Yeah.
is not how a lot of people grow up in an environment like that. Not to say I wasn't disciplined, not to say I wasn't yelled at, not to say I didn't have a curve, not,
Yeah.
I still had parents, you know what I mean? But like, I was also very much always knew that I was loved and that my parents had my back,
Yeah.
like, no matter what. And I know that you might be like, how does that relate to this? I really truly think that, and I really believe myself to be a cheerleader for people
Yeah.
and to help them get their voices out into the world when they felt like maybe they couldn't for so long, that they couldn't tell their story, that they couldn't talk about who they really were because they were afraid of, they've been told so many times in their life to just not tell that, or that people
Right.
don't want to hear that. And I'm here to say they do.
That is cool. Not all heroes wear capes.
I say that when I do really like ridiculous things in our house. Like I'll be like, well, not all, no, I'll empty the dishwasher or something, and I'll be like, not all heroes wear capes, everybody, but here I am. Yeah,
Here you are, emptying the dishwasher.
I
So,
hate that dishwasher. Yes.
I have a love-hate relationship with it. I appreciate a good loading of a dishwasher.
Same. So I don't do that. My husband does the emptying and I do the loading, but he's out of town this week, so I have to be doing both, and I'm just like annoyed about it. So yes,
That's
I
bullshit.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, he's not here now. I have to do it. How annoying. Yeah.
I do love the fact that you've got a system though, right? We've
Oh
got a
yeah,
system.
we have a system around
Oh, yeah.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Big plates go here, small plates go there.
Oh yeah,
Cups
I've
are
got
like,
there's a whole method.
Yeah.
Exactly. When my mom's here and she tries to do it, I'm all annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew there was a reason why I loved you. There we go.
We vibe in that way on our dishwasher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So I want to do a quick shameless plug just so that people can jump in. It'll be in the show notes and stuff like that, wherever we put them. But if people go to Publicity by Christina.com, but there's a but, www.publicityxchristina.com is
And
where
I'll
people
throw it
go.
even further, Christina with a CH. Yes,
Ah,
I know.
yeah.
That will trip people up too.
That will trick.
I was telling Michael before we hopped on the call, I was like, that was one of those things that like when I started my company, I was like, you're so edgy. Yeah, make it an X instead of a by. Like, that's so crazy of you. Like, do it, or whatever. And now I'm like, it is the bane of my existence that I have done this.
Yeah, just lean into it. What the hell? What the hell? Oh man. Okay, this is great. Take me to Boise, Idaho for a minute.
Yeah.
And you're walking. What's the nicest place in Boise? Where do you like to go in Boise?
Oh man, there are many places I like to go, but one thing that really surprises people a lot is we have a really nice wine region. And people don't really realize that, but we're right next to Oregon and Washington, so I don't know why it shocks them so much. But there is a beautiful wine region here, the Snake River wine region, that's about 45 minutes outside of Boise, but there are
Oh
a
my God.
ton of tasting rooms in Boise as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So, thank you for this picture that you've just painted. So I'm going to make some stuff up. So you're hanging out in a vineyard along the Snake River,
Oh, nailed
and
it. Yes.
okay, and maybe you're going up and down, and because you're on a tasting tour, maybe, and like you're
Yeah.
grabbing like one of the grapes, and they're allowing you to taste it, and then you can't wait to get to that tasting room and that spicy aroma, and maybe there's some cheese. I don't know. But on your way there, you're sitting there thinking to yourself as you meander through this vineyard, what is the one thing you wish people knew? Now, it's a big question because it doesn't have to be about publicity. It could just be the thing that's deep in your soul that you're just like, oh my God, if people just knew this, the world would be so much better. What is that?
I think the thing that I wish people knew is that you can do it your way. Um, and it kind of goes back to what we spoke about, the niching, or about like setting things up in the way you want to. And this also includes in your own life, right? Like the way that you do things and the way that you run your or are a part of your family or things like that, is it really doesn't matter what other people think. As long as you can back it up and know that it feels right for you, then go for it. Figure it out along the way.
That's awesome. That's amazing advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was talking with the guy last night at this event that I had, and I was like, "So what is it that you do?" And he's just like, "Oh, I'm a business coach."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this doesn't sound
Yeah.
fun at all." But then he started talking about politics. He's gotten into politics, and he's gotten into knocking on doors, and he like really wants to go and he loves this, and he lit up, right?
I love
Like,
that.
yeah, and I was just like, "Wow." And
Yeah.
he's just like, oh yeah, it's the best thing ever. I'm just like, dude, like do that.
Yeah.
Like if that lights you up,
Yep.
like forget this other stuff. Go do that.
Go do that. Be
Yeah.
successful at that. I mean, I think getting lit up about stuff like that is just a clear sign of like that's what you should be leaning into, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. What do you look for in a podcast that you're putting people on? Like you're looking for a match of some
hmm
sort. But like, what is it that take me through sort of an ideal life cycle?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we're always going to be really crystal clear about with our client is who do they want to get in front of, right?
Right.
Like, what is the audience or audiences? Sometimes there's more than one. They might even have two or three that they're like, this is my ideal people, right? Like, this is who
Yeah.
I want to be getting in front of. And so when it comes to looking at shows, we're really looking a lot, ideally, for hosts that have complementary audiences, right? So they
Right.
don't do the same thing that our client does. Like they don't necessarily have the same product, service,
Right.
etc.
There's
Like
some contrast there.
exactly, they still have a similar audience, but they're not like it's not a direct competition of like I do this and you do this,
Yeah.
type of a thing. It's more of like, for example, we have a lot of clients, or we have multiple clients that are like bookkeeper, tax, CPA style people, right?
Yeah.
So they want to get in front of audiences full of like service providers, right?
Sure.
And that could be in so many industries. That could be from like beauty industries to like therapy to business service providers, etc. There are so many hosts that are in all those different genres,
Right.
right? So they have a complementary audience to them, and our clients can go bring tax knowledge, bookkeeping knowledge, finance knowledge to their client, or not their clients, excuse me, their
To the
listeners,
yeah, the
right?
audience. Sure.
Exactly. And it's a real win-win-win for everybody, in that scenario. Our clients getting in front of their ideal audience. I actually just had a call with a client right before this, and she was telling me about one of the shows she was on and how they got multiple clients from that show, right?
Amazing.
And that was she's in the bookkeeping finance like world, and this particular host was a photographer. And then that was like what their listeners were professional photographers.
Yeah,
And
nice.
so she was in there talking about taxes, bookkeeping, etc. And that's the exact scenario that we want to have happen, right? We want it to be something where our clients get in front of their ideal people. The host is getting great content for their audience to listen to. And then the audience is picking up a lot of knowledge, tips, etc. And getting to the point where they're like, I need to like book in a call, right? Or I need to figure out if this is the right fit for me to work with, type of thing. So yeah, that's kind of like a great basis of what the ultimate strategy is.
Love it. I'm going to be whipping you pillar to post today. What do you do outside of work? What's going to happen this weekend?
Well, my husband gets back from a work trip he's been on tomorrow. So I think my daughter and I tonight, I'm hoping I can talk her into a movie night. We will see. I know I always want to have a movie night, but she is not very into it. So I don't know. I'm always like, what if we have a movie night? And she's like, I don't want to have a movie night. So she's like, I want to watch baking show. We watch the Great British Bake Off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter and I love it. And but we've seen it so many times
the same
that
one?
I'm like, can we please watch something else? Can we please watch something else? I know these people's like by name. Like if I heard them in the street, I would be like, yep, there they are. Like that's how often we watch this. Yes.
Great Canadian baking show is
can we get
pretty
that?
good. I think you can.
We get it?
You should be able to.
I'm going to try.
It's got to be on one of the services, I'm sure. Because
there's an American baking show too. And Paul Hollywood is the host and everything like that. But it just doesn't have the same charm, you know?
Yeah, and I want to say, like, I've seen the Great British Baking Show, which I quite like, it's very rustic, right? Like it's very, it's got charm to it.
Yeah.
The Great Canadian one is a little more produced.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that weird blend between the UK stuff, which is just so endearing, and the American stuff, which is so hyper produced. And the Canadian stuff is a blend of that.
Of the two. Okay. That's good. That's good for me to know. I should look that up.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is something that I have to I'll try to convince my daughter to do that tonight. We'll see. And then tomorrow we'll probably do some baking. She loves to bake. So that's the plan, is we're going to do some of that. And we'll see what else happens. And then I know they're going to go skiing on Sunday, and I'm going to hang out with some girlfriends. So yeah, nice little weekend planned. Yeah.
All right. So you got a life outside of work. You just
I do. And I'm I am a pretty strong boundary setter when it comes to that stuff. And so I do try to, not be working on the weekends. I don't mind it every now and again if I need to get stuff done or things like that, but I don't want that to be my normal, routine.
Got it. Nice. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's uncommon for entrepreneurs and business people. So I applaud you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So if you were, are you a big reader at all?
I was.
Or a medium-sized reader?
Yeah, I was. I will say one thing about being an entrepreneur, like you just said, is we are pretty busy a lot of the time. So unfortunately, I don't get to read as much as I want. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up question.
That's definitely more so what I do. Yeah.
What's your go-to podcast? Give me your a top one or favorite, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my one I listen to for business, my favorite one, and then I'll tell you my one I listen to for pleasure, favorite one. Like my ones that every week I'm like, okay, start them as soon as they release and everything like that. Yeah. So business-wise, I really love the Cubicle to CEO podcast with host Ellen Yin. Okay. And the reason I really, really love that show is she does it all based around case studies. So she has people on and they're talking about hard numbers. They're talking about the things that you can't just Google. Do you know what I mean? To find an answer to. And so I really, really love that. And it's not, it's a great show. She's very, she asks great questions, and we actually had a client on there, which was really, really exciting. Very cool. But yeah, it's just a very, I just like that it's so fact-based, but very much applicable to my work. And, not every episode's going to directly work with what I do, but it's still
Sure.
interesting,
Yeah.
to learn how people do their business.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to personal, I'm a big true crime fan.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Like most American women, the stats are insane on that. I don't know why we love it so much. I'm sure there's psychology around it. I don't
Um,
know. But I really love the show Tenfold More Wicked,
oh,
which is not like a huge. It's a like well listened to show, but it's not a huge show. But the gal that does it, her name's Kate Winkler Dawson. She's a history professor at the University of Austin, and so it's like very, very well researched.
I love it.
And yeah, I just like her vibe, and I've listened to her for years now.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, thank you for those
Yeah,
recommendations. That's lovely. What would you change about your brand?
the name.
Previously established.
That
Yeah.
is a goal of mine in the next year. A year to 2 years will be to change the name of the company, especially because, you know, and I'm sure there's other people out there that understand this. When you start the business, it's just you,
Yeah.
right? Like it was just me at first. So Publicity by Christina made sense.
Yeah.
It was me doing everything, and I still run our clients' accounts, but like there's a lot of other, there's multiple other people that are on our team, at
Yeah.
this point. So I do want to do that at some point. But on the flip side of that, I want to say that I'm proud of myself for not getting too caught up in that at the beginning.
Good for you. Yeah.
Because the first business that I had, I spent way too much on branding, on these types of things, like that course that I created, etc. When in actuality, what I needed was an offer that sold,
Right.
a product that sold. And so when I started this business, I was very much like, I'm not doing any of that stuff that I did the first time. And I'm not here to say that's the way it has to be, but I'm here to say no one bought from me because of my logo. No one bought from me because of XYZ. In fact, until I sold $100,000 in my pitch broker service, I didn't have a sales page. So when the offer is
Mm,
right, when it's what people want,
yeah.
as long as you're doing it and you're getting the results on the back end,
Yeah.
none of that stuff really matters. So at least in the beginning,
Yeah.
that's how I felt. When I do rebrand, when we do change the name, of course, like I'm going to be investing and stuff like that. But I just think that like at the beginning, the first time I had a business, I spent too much time and money worrying about that stuff. And now I'm like coming back to where I'm like, okay, now I'm really thinking about my brand again.
Right. Right. What do you think is the most important piece of the brand story?
I mean, I really think the most important piece of the brand story is authenticity.
Mm,
People know when you're authentic or not.
right.
I really, really think that that's why people really relate to me. I'm sure it's why they relate to you. You're a very authentic person as well. I've known that from the first time I talked to you. And I think that to me, instead of trying to look like everybody else in their branding,
Yeah.
and like how many people out there just have like a jaunty hat and are, at a pool or whatever. Yeah, I'd like to be by a pool in a jaunty hat too,
Who
but
doesn't?
like
Yeah.
that's not that's not like who I authentically necessarily am, right?
Right.
Like it's a part of me, but a bigger part of me is in front of a podcast mic, right? Or listening to podcasts or, to your point, out with my family, out with friends, traveling, etc. Those are the things that people, I think, they really relate to you, and that's why podcasts are that's why
Yeah.
it works so well, because they relate to you and your authentic self. So that part of the brand story, I think, is important.
Love that. Thank you. That's a great answer. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So good. So imagine, if you will, let me, and again, I'm painting this picture. I don't know if it's right or not, but there's something that you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet that you're planning on doing in the future. Maybe it's the near future, maybe it's the far off future. Perhaps
hmm
it's learning to deep sea dive. I don't know. What is that thing, and when is it going to happen?
That is a great question. Like, can I answer business and personal?
Please, yeah, I
Okay,
love that. I love
perfect.
that you split it because it's
Yes,
very, yeah,
yes. Well, you know, both things are huge in my life, right? Like, and
yeah,
I think that's important as an entrepreneur to recognize, like, we do work.
yeah,
Like we do set goals. Like there are things that are going to matter to us in our business and otherwise. I think that a big goal for me is business wise is that I would love to be able to like take my team on a like retreat, like on a
oh,
fun trip, or something like that. That's really something that's been a goal of mine for like a really long time, and is something that I'm interested in exploring. Secondarily to that, I'm interested in potentially doing like a retreat for people that want to plan out their visibility and like publicity. That's another thing that I've really thought about, like maybe doing Q4 of this year for people to think about their 2025 publicity plans, get locked in, etc.
Yeah.
Personally, this is going to sound way less cool. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Personally, okay, I'm going to let you all in a real truth about Christina if we're talking about authenticity here.
I'm getting closer to the mic right now.
I love the K-pop group BTS. Okay? I love them. I know you can't see it, but I have their pictures right here.
Oh my God.
They give me strength throughout my workday.
Love it.
I love them very, very much. And I got to see one of them in concert in 2023 before he went off to military service. And it was awesome.
Amazing.
So my big goal, because you said what's in the kind of far future as well, is that in 2026, I can go to Korea and see them perform when they're back from their military service. I'm really, really excited about that. So it's something that I hope I can just, take multiple weeks off and go and experience that with a friend of mine, who also is a big fan, and go have some fun.
Oh my God, that'd be so great.
I'm like into it. Yes. And thank you for not making fun of me. People like to make fun of me sometimes.
No, I love it.
But I truly believe what makes us happy makes us happy. So as long as, I always say to people when I have friends that would make fun of me and stuff, and I'm like, is it hurting you?
Right.
Is it hurting anybody that I love this Korean pop group? No, it's not. So
you have to love what you love. And I think that we have to appreciate that when people love something, it's a thing that, who the hell am I?
If it brings them happiness, then and it's not hurting anybody else, then there you go. Yeah.
I think that's dope as hell. I love it.
Yeah.
That's so good. Oh,
people are probably thinking I was going to be like spending time with my daughter. I'm like, I'm going to go to Korea with my friend. We're going to watch BTS.
So have you had an opportunity to travel much? And if so, where do you love to go?
Oh man, this is a great question. So after college, I actually lived in Ireland and in Mexico before I came back home and then started working at Dark Horse, as we talked about earlier. But I got to take a full year plus and do all that beforehand, which was amazing. And then we lived in Portland. I lived in New England for multiple years with my now husband, which is where he's from. Yeah. And then now we're back in Boise. We travel fairly often. We were just in Mexico 2 weeks ago. I was in Puerto Rico the month before that for a work event. I do travel for work fairly often. Yeah. I love to go to events. That's where I meet a lot of clients, is networking at events, people meeting me, realizing that somebody does what I do. It's always really surprising for people. They don't know that, like, oh, wow, so you just get people booked on podcasts? I'm like, yes. They're like, wow, okay, like, we need to talk. And so that's something I'm an extrovert. So, like, I love going to events. I love talking to people. Some people hate that shit. I get it, but like not me. I'm not. I'm like in it. Now, am I exhausted at the end of every night? Yes. But I am absolutely in it, like when I'm there and during the day, etc. So I get to go to fun stuff like that. Like I'm going to DC in April and to LA for different events, planning out other events that I have going on this year. So I get to travel quite a bit in that way. And then as a family, we travel too, although that tends to be more like, driving like to Bend or, to Portland, stuff like that. My husband's actually in Europe right now. So travel is a big part of our life. In fact, one time, we had the moment like maybe some people can relate to, where we literally crossed in the airport, where he touched down and then I was taking off, because someone has to watch our kid, so that was kind of how we worked it out.
Kid on it, just waiting at the
she was in school.
Dunkin' Donuts.
No, she was in school. But it was funny because I was literally filling up my water bottle. I didn't know that we landed or that I was going to be there at the same time as him. Yeah. So I was filling up my water bottle and someone kissed me on the cheek and I was like, what the? And then I was like, oh. And all the people in line behind me were like horrified.
Oh my
Like
God.
they like didn't know what had just happened, and I was like, "It's my husband. I'm sorry." Like I was like, "It's okay," and finished it out. And because he didn't even stop,
Oh my
he
God.
kissed me and then kept walking, like to go get his bags and stuff. So
Hilarious.
he just looked like a walk-by kisser, like someone that's just walking by people at the airport, giving them kisses on the cheek. Yeah,
Well,
exactly. So yes, yes,
amazing.
yes.
That's really good. What what's a Christina, what's your guilty pleasure? What's the thing that you do just for you
Besides BTS.
besides BTS? Yes.
Well, just to keep on that theme, it's definitely K-dramas. I also watch Korean dramas at night. After my family has all gone to sleep, I stay up way too late watching handsome Korean men and beautiful Korean women go through scenarios in movies and whatnot, and I love it. Yeah.
All right. It's totally fair.
Yeah. We're getting real deep diving, Christina.
Yeah, so we're good. We're learning some stuff. Have you been to Asia yet?
I've been to Japan.
You've been to Japan?
I went to Japan with my husband he had a work trip before we had our daughter.
Yeah.
And it was the best. I loved being there. I loved the people, the culture. It was beautiful. The food was beautiful. Everything about it I loved. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about 2026. Getting to go back, at least to Korea, but if I can also add on like Japan again or something like that too, I would love to.
Right. Well, yeah, so good. I've only been to Japan once and was for like 2 hours. We had to stop over in Narita on our way to Manila, and I fell in love with their bathrooms.
They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they got game for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's people in the world, Christina, and you know a lot of them because you put them on shows. But maybe they're just at the start of their journey, or they're going from an agency and they're thinking about starting their own hustle, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And we call these people either rebels in waiting, or they're just these entrepreneurs that are about to do the thing. From your experience and what you've learned along the way, what would be the thing that what's your recommendation to them?
Yeah.
What advice do you have?
I love this question. And really, besides what I said earlier of like doing it your own way and being able to figure out, you can figure out anything. Marie Forleo says everything's figure outable, and I truly believe that. I think that you can figure everything out. You just stand in your values and you'll figure it out. Yeah. But the other thing I would say is be visible. And that really goes back to the work that I do. A lot of people are here, or I guarantee there are people listening to this podcast right now that are scared shitless.
Yeah.
By the thought of guesting on podcasts. They hear what I do. They hear what I'm doing right now. They're like, no way. I would never get up there. I would not talk on a mic to anybody about what I do, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing that I want you to think about is, what is the worst that can happen? What do you think is the worst that can happen? Yeah. And for most people, that's going to be something like I flub my words, or, I say something wrong, or people think, why are they talking about this? They don't know anything, whatever. Right. And I just want to be able to reassure you that the right people will hear what you have to say. And also, I stumble over shit all the time. I accidentally swear, like you just heard me do. These things happen all the time. And even, before we got started, Michael said very kindly, hey, if you mess something up, if you don't say something right, let me know. We can always edit it out. That's how 99% of the hosts are going to be the exact same way, because 95% of shows aren't live. Okay. Right. So keep that in mind. But the other thing I want you to remember is that the worst thing that can happen is you do not put yourself out there. I firmly believe that your business will not grow unless you are getting in front of new people regularly. Right. I recommend setting up what I've heard. I didn't coin this term, but it's a term that I have taken over, which is called visionary KPI. And that is, how many times are you getting in front of your ideal audience talking about your business? That could be guesting on a podcast. That could also be going to an event. That could be speaking at a local event. That could be going to coffee, right? There are a lot of different ways that you can do that. But my personal visionary KPI is 1 time a week, I am getting in front of a new audience, right? I love that. And some weeks there's going to be more than that, but that is my time of that 1 time. And if you do that from the beginning of your business, wow, it's going to be pretty impactful, because a lot of people wait until they're at the point where they realize they need to get more visible.
Wow. That excellent advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So good. Oh, okay. I got a couple just tiny little questions.
Do it.
Itty bitty ones. And I know that you watch K-drama. But
I mean, I watch other stuff too.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, like, what's your other binge-worthy Netflixy stuff?
Well, besides Great British Bake Off on repeat, and then the K-dramas, of course, which are not on repeat. That's a one-time only deal. You heard me say I love to listen to true crime. I love to watch crime documentaries and that type of stuff too. I mean, no question. Like, I mean, granted, that's not like if my daughter's around, of course, I'm not watching that. But if it's just me, and I'm making dinner before they get back or something like that. Yeah, let's just check out a quick true crime doc and see what went down. That's definitely another kind of guilty pleasure for me for sure. And again, I don't understand the psychology behind it. I don't get it. But that's where we're at.
If you could hear anybody on this podcast, who would you want to hear?
That's a great question. I actually think, I mentioned her earlier, but Ellen Yin, who is the host of Cubicle to CEO, I think it would be fascinating to hear from her, like how she's really stood in creating her show with integrity, and the way that she does it. Oh, okay. Done. I will make that call. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll make that call. That's outstanding. Okay. Final question. This is the biggest one. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no? Yes.
This is why we get along so well. Yes.
And actually, my daughter's favorite pizza, and honestly, quite frankly, what we might have tonight, is pepperoni and pineapple. So that is it. That is what we eat a lot of in this house, if we're having pizza. So yes, big pineapple on pizza fan around here.
Amazing. And on that note, Christina Lenkowski, thank you so much for being on the Rebel. This has been an absolute treat for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I've been your host, Michael Dargie, and this has been the RebelRebel Podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs all over the world. And hey, if you're a rebel or you know a rebel, why don't you head on over to the RebelRebelPodcast.com and fill out our guest request form. We'll get back to you within 24 hours, and maybe we can share your story with the world. Don't forget to like, share, or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And thanks so much for listening. Until next time.